And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this evening. We have a magnificent guest with us tonight, one who is going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than the studious scientist, historian, and just great representative of the teachings of Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, none other than our brother James Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum salam, Brother Joshua. Thank you for having me on your show, brother. You are one of the most influential student ministers in the Nation of Islam, and your work is constantly reaching people who are in and out of the mosque. Allah is blessing you, but this is just the tip of the iceberg, what he has in store for you, Brother Joshua. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. That means a lot coming from you, Brother James. And thank you to everyone who was watching from around the world. Uh, each interview that we do, people put texts, calls, comments, messages, DMs. Everybody wants to reach out to Brother James after the interview to build and to gather more information and knowledge. How do you suggest that people who reach out is it social Facebook, is it Instagram? How do you want people to reach out to you?
The best way for people to reach out and for me to respond, if they text me, because brother, I get texts from people across the world sometimes. Sometimes I'm just sitting at my place, and a text will come in from someone in Africa, or a text will come from somewhere. I had some scientists contact me from Japan one day, and we were talking about the teaching. They said, brother, someone had showed us one of the interviews you did, and we're physicists, and we agree with you. I'm like, wow, bro, that was an honor, because it shows the validity of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching is right and exact. And
Yes, sir.
Anybody, if I'm welcome to give my number, anybody, they can text me. If you call, I'm not going to answer a lot of times. Because I still take medication, trying to heal. Brother, I was able to walk 2 miles the other day. That's the first time I did that in years, because I was so out of it, I could barely walk. And so Allah is blessing me to heal. But my phone number, if they want to reach me, and I'll discuss any subject or share whatever information I have, is 602 441 6044. Again, that's 602 441 6044, and I'll get back with them immediately.
Mm. Beautiful. Thank you all.
Thank you, Brother Joshua.
Yes, sir. Okay. Now, Brother James, we want to get straight into it this evening. Um, One of the talking points that we discussed is, or we're going to discuss, is the true identity of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Brother, most people, they view the minister, but he's like a ghost-like or apparition figure. They see him, but they really don't see him clearly. It's almost like he's opaque in such a way. I want to try to share some things about the minister's real identity. We're taught Islam is mathematics. So also Islam is on an evolutionary path. Master Farad Muhammad, we know he's the great Mahdi. He's not just the Mahdi anymore. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he has evolved from just being the Christ to evolve to being the Mahdi. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he's not just the Jesus figure, he's also the Christ. Minister Farrakhan is the Christ. Can that be proven? Easily. It's many things about Minister Farrakhan, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. First, most people aren't consciously aware that he has a major city in America named after him. We hear of the city all the time, but we don't take it in the way we should. And the name of that city is called St. Louis. St. Louis. is named after the minister.
Mm.
It's named after the minister. Why? Why do I say St. Louis is named after the minister? The minister is definitely a saint. And beyond that, not only is the minister a saint, St. Louis is most famous for a monument that's called the Gateway Arch. The Gateway Arch is the most famous monument there. Why the Gateway Arch? That's a strange name, Gateway Arch. Who is the gateway to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Master Farad Muhammad? It's the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He's the gateway. Not only is he the gateway to them, he's the gateway to the kingdom of God. Remember, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said through the minister, he would get all of his people. So if you go to the problem book, number 7 and number 8, it talks about how Mr. Muhammad cracked an atom into 10 million parts. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he knew the date in which he would have 10 million followers here in America. And he said with 10 million, he could take the world. So we have the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He's the gateway arch. Why is it called arch? What type of angel is the minister? He's an archangel, which means the highest form or the principal type. Minister Farrakhan, he's the archangel, and he is the example for the new man of the new world.
Yes, sir.
It's not a coincidence that when the minister was born, and not just the minister, we can't put the minister out there and not put Mother Khadijah out there also. The minister and Mother Khadijah, his wife, they are the examples for the new world order coming in. Why do I say that? Look at his birth name, Louis Eugene Walcott. Look at her birth name, Betsy Jean Ross. Is it a coincidence that both of them have Jean in the middle name? What's a gene? Isn't that the genesis or the dealing with the genetic makeup? Remember how Adolf Hitler, through his program called eugenics, tried to perfect a man?
Yes, sir.
Master Farad Muhammad, he succeeded in the process of his perfection of the man through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We get to watch with our eyes, and we get to see the whole world get to see the minister being perfected in front of the world. The minister and his wife, they are the genetic makeup for the new world. In the history of America, in the history of America, Betsy Ross is credited not with designing the flag, but she's credited with putting the flag together. And a flag is also what? A standard or a standard bearer. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he is the standard bearer for the Nation of Islam. And although Mother Khadijah, she didn't design him, she helped put him together.
Go ahead.
And what did her name just happen to be? Betsy Ross.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Betsy Jean Ross. That's not a coincidence. So that's some of the things dealing with St. Louis. St. Louis is mosque number 28. 28. Isn't the 28th chapter of the Holy Quran called the narrative? Who's writing the narrative for the new world? White man's not writing the narrative anymore. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the minister, they're writing the narrative. They're telling the story for the new world order. Also, with St. Louis, that city is famous in the history of America for what they call the Dred Scott decision.
Yes, sir.
Dred Scott, that was the decision that came about from white folks saying Black people had no rights that a white man was bound to respect.
That's right.
That's right there at that famous St. Louis courthouse. Why was it Dred Scott? You see, Allah had pre-planned and ordained many of these things many years in advance, even before the Dred Scott decision. Look at the name Dred Scott. Why was it the Dred Scott decision? Because white people dread the idea of blacks ever being scot-free.
Mm,
That's why it's called the Dred Scott decision. And what does scot-free mean? If you look up scot-free, that means to be free from taxation. So
mm,
what
mm,
did the
mm.
United States Constitution, well, no, Constitution didn't say it, but that was the cause for the rebellion,
Yes,
the
sir.
Revolutionary War.
That's right.
Taxation without
Representation.
representation
That's right.
is tyranny. What do black people live under every day? We're
Mm,
living under
mm, mm.
complete and total tyranny. We're living under tyrants every day. You know, that's why it's important. Not only are blacks living under tyranny, but people of color, particularly blacks and Latinos in America, are living under tyranny. Do you know the Mexicans? One of the reasons why America went to war with Mexico, you know, they talk about remember the Alamo, but
Sir.
they
Yes,
don't
sir.
tell you the Alamo was Mexican territory. That was Mexican territory.
Fact.
Mexico abolished slavery in the year 1829.
Mm,
Yeah. And so tens of thousands of blacks fled to Mexico. And the Texans, they were hating it. So the Texans stationed a lot of Texas Rangers down near the Mexico border, and they would go and kidnap blacks and bring them back to slavery. You know, Mexico had abolished slavery long before America even thought about it.
mm.
That's one of the hatreds that they have for the Mexicans. Also, in the year either 1932 or 1933, I believe it was one of those years, you know, they rounded up over 3 million Mexicans, mainly California and Arizona, but most were in California, and put them on trains at gunpoint
Mm,
and sent them back to Mexico. Most Mexicans don't even know that history.
mm,
You know, they don't talk about it in the public school system, but they can Google it and find it. Over 3 million Mexicans, they rounded them up at gunpoint
mm,
and sent them. Many of them were so-called American citizens, and they sent them back to Mexico
mm,
because they were looking at the demographics and they were figuring if they continued to multiply at the rate they were multiplying at that particular time, they would overtake the white Californians or the
mm.
so-called white Americans. But so Minister Farrakhan, his job is not just dealing with black people. It's through him he will get all people, all indigenous people. And I know before I spoke on the Mexican flag, and that's something that our people need to pull up on Google and see how the Mexican flag, because what it is, it's a bird sitting on top of a cactus devouring a snake.
Mm,
And
mm,
that's
mm,
representative of the minister because the Holy Quran talks about Jesus. I will determine for you what? A bird out of dust. And I breathe into it and it becomes a bird by Allah's permission. And the sign of the fall of this world, Satan is depicted as a snake.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's depicted as a snake. And so it shows the minister devouring this world alive. That's one of his functions. The minister and his wife, they will be the luminaries for the new world. They're the ones. You can't have the man without the woman. I was studying some things recently. I study 7 days a week. I study seven. That's how I relax. You know,
Yes, sir.
everybody
Yes, sir.
everybody relax differently. That's one of the ways I relax because I always try to look into the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and try to figure something out. So I was studying some physics the other day to deal with the origin of the universe and the origin of God. And I remember the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, how he said, dealing with the woman, that as far back as the man goes, you will find the woman was there with the man, as far back. And so I said, okay, as far back. So I went back to the inception or the beginning of creation. I said, okay. Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, at the origin of creation, and you know, right now we're going through what's called a recreation. We're doing a recreation right now. But at the origin of creation, over 78 trillion years ago, you had that one sitting in space. He hadn't manifested himself, but there's always been a force, power, and energy in space. The scientists call it dark energy and dark matter. Dark energy comprised roughly 70% of the universe. Dark matter comprised 25% of the universe. And then visible matter comprised 5% of the universe. A lot of the scientists, they're trying to figure out, where did this dark matter come from? And when you think about it, it's real easy. It's real simple. Dark matter came from dark energy. Dark matter, why? Because dark energy is the main composition of the universe, 70%. And remember, the messenger says 75% of the teachings is what? With the woman.
That's right.
And 70% of the human being is water. The messenger says it was a fine mist of water floating in space. Fine atom, excuse me, of water floating in space. So he said, when God went to his self-creation, he pulled together 9,999 other parts that were in the darkness, and they were dormant and doing nothing. And he gave them function and purpose. And so what came to my mind, if he pulled together 9,999 other parts, and the first atom became one, and as it made the number one, then it turned into a circle. And that's how life started, it started revolving. So I said, those 9,999 other parts, have we ever considered what was the gender of those other parts? In order for life, you need male and female. Since he was already male, it would seem that those other parts had to be female.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's common sense. And then I said, hold it. That's the same way it is in biology. If you look at the sperm cell is the smallest cell in the human body. The egg cell is the largest cell in the human body. And it's not a coincidence that the egg cell is 10,000 times the size of the sperm cell. That's dealing with that 10,000 at the inception. And when the sperm cell is released and it has to go uphill against gravity, dealing with the fallopian tube, one of the most mysterious things that the scientists really can't explain is gravity in the universe. They know about the weak force, the strong force, electromagnetism, and gravity. They're able to get a grasp on those other three to a degree, but gravity totally eludes them. And so when that seed of life is traveling up the fallopian tube, it's in a hostile environment. When it reaches the egg, that's when it permeates the egg, and then it starts to rotate. Then it sets off a spark of electricity to show no matter what's going on, the light is always there. But it doesn't set off the electricity until the sperm and the egg meets together, until the woman and the man meet. Then life is created. If you just have the sperm cell by itself, you don't have no life. If you have the egg cell just by itself, you don't have any life. That's why the messenger said, as far back as you go, the woman was there with the man.
Yes,
She
sir.
was there at the beginning, because a lot of brothers, they don't want to give sisters adequate credit for their part. But you got to understand, without her, there's no us. We're a team. We're a team together. And together we create life, and together we create motion. So motion was set in place. The sail starts to revolve, and Allah is so wise in the wisdom that he uses. The Bible says, be fruitful and multiply.
Yes,
But
sir.
the cells do? It starts up as one cell. Does it multiply?
Mm,
No.
mm, mm.
It divides, but in the division that it uses, it creates multiplication. God, I mean, God is so wise, he uses division, but it makes multiplication with the division that he uses.
Mm, mm.
Even when you look at numbers, and you say greater than, so a lot of people say, well, 5 is greater than 1. But that's not true, because without 1, you can't get any numbers.
Mm.
What seems to be the most insignificant number is really the most significant number. And that's why it says, he, Allah, is one God.
Come on, come on.
Without 1, you have nothing. And it says, God is the only reality. So without God, nothing else is real, because God, Allah, is the only permanent thing in the universe.
Yes, sir.
Everything else is temporal. Yeah, how long are we going to be here? Temporarily. Even if you live to be 10,000 years old, how long are you going to be here? Universe is trillions of years old. You're going to be here temporarily. You ain't going to live to be trillions of years old. You wouldn't want to do it anyway. And so it's things like that. The minister is the model. That's why he had to go through and continue to go through what he is currently going through. And the betrayal is coming.
Mm.
The minister's getting ready to leave very soon. In the book of Daniel, it talks about 70 weeks are determined. And after the 70 weeks, the Messiah would be cut off. It's not a coincidence that the minister came into the nation in the year 1955.
Mm.
Next year will make 70 years for the minister. He'll be cut off, but a lot of people will come and gather. The brothers will come. It'll be slow. You know, brothers usually slower than sisters on taking care of business. That's just the reality. You know, men are real simple to deal with. You know, men are looking for a few things. Men, and a lot of sisters don't know, they could hold on to their husband if they would just act right. That the average man, and this is the average. What does the average man want? Let's just be honest. Average man wants some sex, some food, and to be left alone.
Mm.
That's what
That's
the average. Yeah, sex, food, and peace. If you give them some sex, give them some food, and put the man's mind at ease and peace. He ain't thinking about nothing else. What do you want? I want this car. He get that. He don't care about that kind of stuff. I want a new dress. Here, baby. Here, you got a new dress. He's not tripping like that. But you know, a lot of sisters, they mouth themselves out.
mm, mm, mm.
Brother don't want to hear that. A brother just wants some peace. The average black man, you go in the hood, and the hood is violent, but even the violence in the hood have certain peaceful or just principles behind it. You know, brother do something to a brother wife. Yeah, well, he did me wrong. He did this to me. He did that. Yeah, of course I had to get him. You know, but he's dealing with the principles of justice, even in that. The minister is the foundation for the new world. The minister is the foundation, The messenger talks about how humble the minister is. He talks about how loving the minister is. The minister's main attribute is love.
Mm.
Love, because that was the origin of the universe. The universe is rooted in love.
Yes,
That's the
sir.
foundation of the universe. That is one thing white people can't overcome. Black people, no matter how crazy we act, and we act crazy, we really do, you still have the worst among us will have a certain amount and degree of love. The, the minister shows that good could come out of Nazareth because they asked, can any good come out of Nazareth?
That's
Of
right.
course,
That's right.
good. Yeah. And if you look at the Masonic order, in our written lessons, 6 of them deal with the Masons. So in the Masonic order, the highest order for the Shriners is 33 and 1/3 degree. And
Yes,
that
sir.
1/3 degree is honorary. And they talk about Hiram Abiff
That's
in
right.
the Masonic order. 33 and a third. So who represent what? Who's that first three? Who had to go through a first trial in America when they came in 1930, made himself known? Well, he didn't come in 1930, he came in 1910, but he made himself known in 1930. Who does that second three represent in the
Mm. Mm.
Masonic order? And he worked among us 44 years during his, and who is that 1/3 that's an honorary degree?
Come on.
That's the minister. That's and the minister, he is enshrining us permanently in the history of the world. Once the world wakes up to who the minister and the messenger is, like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he told Brother Jabril one day, he said, brother, if people knew the powers that I have to heal, they would be lined up around my house, around the block, and I could never get no work done.
Mm. Mm.
And it's the same way with the minister, particularly when he comes back with that new book. Brother, he comes back with the new book, and boop, boop, a couple tooths from that, it's going to be like everybody stood up at one time. We are going through some things right now, and a lot of Black people are still angry and upset. They should be rejoicing because of what happened with the election.
Mm. Mm.
They're upset because Kamala Harris didn't win. But if they would have dealt with reality, she never stood a chance.
Mm. Mm.
She never had a chance of winning. And if she would have won, all it would have did was put us to sleep in a deeper sleep. Donald Trump, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. Neither am I a fan of Kamala Harris or any of these politicians. But Donald Trump, in reality, was the best thing that could have happened for Blacks and
Mm.
Latinos.
Mm.
Because with Donald Trump, you don't have a friend in Washington, D.C. He's not he's not faking you out. He's not pretending. He has one Black in his cabinet, ex-football player.
Mm. Mm.
Donald Trump, he's letting you know, hey, you ain't got nothing coming through the Trump administration. What did he put this guy over? Housing and urban development, urbanization. It's the same way with Dr. Ben Carson when he was in the Trump administration the first time. This man is a world renowned neurosurgeon, and he put him over housing and urban development. Is that the only thing Black people are qualified for? Why,
Mm.
why did he make him the Surgeon General or
Mm.
something
Mm.
like that? I mean, the man is in the medical field, Dr. Carson was. And so that's one of the things, we should be thankful to Allah. It says, the devil plans and Allah is the best of planners. What happened is really a blessing. What happened is really a blessing for us because we're not looking. We're not looking to get something from white people. We're not looking for a benevolent person in Washington, D.C. Last time anyone showed us real benevolence was when General Sherman issued, what was it, Field Order number 15, the 40 acres and a mule. And they actually gave that to a few black people. And then they end up taking it back. But at least they did try at the beginning. But the whites, they were so upset, like, we don't want them having no land, because they understand land is the basis of real freedom. They'll try to, our people are so crazy. If they offered most of us a check, we would take the check. They wouldn't even have to offer us land. Brother, sometimes when, I was going through hard times and things, and my creditors would call and they say, Mr. Muhammad, I said, yes, sir. They say, I'm calling from such and such a bank. Say, oh, thanks for calling. Well, right now, you owe us, your card is delinquent or this and that. We're going to close your account. I said, okay. Well, right now, you owe us $15,000. I said, I do? They said, yeah, how you plan on handling that? I said, oh, that's easy. I said, what I want you to do, you owe us for 310 years for slavery. You just go ahead and you take that $15,000 out that I owe you, and you just send me a check for the rest of it. They say, what? I didn't do that. Yeah, just like O.J. Simpson. You're not guilty, but you're responsible. I said, so yeah, you just do that. I said, but I said, look, I said, you owe us. It's no way we worked 310 years for free and I can owe you anything. I said, but hey, feel free to call anytime you want. I said, I'll answer the phone. I'm not going to be running and hiding from you. I'm going to answer the phone every time. I'm not. Well, they'd stop calling. I had what was it, Sprint, one of these companies years ago, back in the 80s. And I was talking to Brother Jabril every single day. I mean, multiple times a day. And that's when they didn't have these plans, where you could get $200-300 a month unlimited. Brother, my phone bill, because I was let Brother Jabril use my phone card sometimes too. I said, brother, just use whatever you want. My phone bill had got up to $5,000 because I wouldn't pay the bill, but I knew they wasn't going to cut the phone off because they wanted to listen in on what we were saying every day. So, brother, ran the bill up to, month after month, I wouldn't pay. I said, hey, sooner or later, they're going to get tired and cut it off, brother. My phone stayed on for like 8 or 9 months without paying a bill because I already know they so nosy. They want to hear what's going on. And that's what they did.
But James.
Yes, sir.
Excellent points. I just want to let you read some of the comments that people are showing love all around the world. Thank you, Brother Robert Epps. Wow, Robert Epps never thought of that. Allah in the Holy Quran that he would show us his grant, his signs. We should recognize them. Brother Musa, Assalamu alaikum, family, alaikum salam. Great Brother Londo, great facts. Brother James, Brother Azim Shabazz, he loves the cosmic listen. Exactly. In facts. Thank you to Brother Duke, Brother Kente, Sister Hope, Sister Auntie, everyone who shows love. Sister Miriam, Sister Naima, thank you all very much for showing love to the People's Podcast. We have a brief 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors. We are grateful for every like, share, and subscription. Thank you for every anonymous Cash App you all have been helping the People's Podcast stay on the air. We truly appreciate everybody from around the world. Thank you very much. 1 second. Girls all across the country. Sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ. My 2 books, Cleopatra, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are available on Amazon. Okay, yes, sir. Thank you to everyone who is watching. Also, S Enterprise, Barber and Beauty Products. It is a plant-based kosher wave brush. Their website is kosherwave.com with a K, 770-997-6000. Brother Jeffrey Sirsi Muhammad and Sister Stephanie Lasan Muhammad, they are in Africa as we speak, going back and forth to help establish trade and commerce. Thank you for every business, every sponsor. You all have no idea how I was able to make it through college, working full time job, full time student, doing all of this podcast. It is with the help of people who send anonymous love. So I thank you all very much. Penny Black, thank you. Peace, guys. Peace to the guys. Thank you, everyone who was watching. Brother James, I wanted to go back and follow up with you on the betrayal of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You touched on it, but then you went somewhere else real quick with another subject. As far as the departure, what do you think? What insight did Minister Jabril give dealing with the minister eventually and then the departure? But what are what are you seeing now from your vantage point?
Brother Jabril, we used to talk about the minister's betrayal all the time.
Mm.
And in some of the early years, the minister on this side of Calvary, he used to talk about his betrayal that was coming in the future. The minister used to say, this is an open book test. I'm giving you all the answers. This is an open book test. You shouldn't fail. Study what happened prior to 1975 and at 1975, when the messenger departed from us. You had the nation was honeycombed with hypocrites. You had jealousy and envy set in over the minister. They were upset with the position of the minister, but deeper than that, a lot of it involved the domestic life, but not just on the surface level. Look at David and Absalom. Absalom was jealous of the wives. Absalom, he wanted to defile the wives, so he did it through the ministers of David.
Mm.
So that's the same thing. The wives not only represent the wives on that one pluralistic side of marriage,
yes,
but it also represent the ministry. The ministry are like wives. I remember the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan making the statement years ago, and he said 97% of his ministers were not with him.
Mm.
Now, he may have changed that. I didn't hear him retract it, but naturally, I don't hear everything that's going on. Many of those are upset. They look at the minister's lifestyle and they think the minister has a super luxurious lifestyle. The minister doesn't have a super luxurious lifestyle for the work that he's doing.
Mm.
The minister deserves to be a billionaire. He deserves to be a billionaire, and he will one day be a billionaire. But they look at, oh, the minister lives here, and the minister got these. The minister goes through hell dealing with us. I mean, brother, the average one of us couldn't deal with us for 6 months without going crazy. I'm serious, brother. I know I was a laborer I was a laborer several times, but I just didn't have the fortitude to be able to deal with it, nor did I have the patience, and I didn't have enough love at that time to deal with it, because my mindset coming from the streets, before coming to the nation, is like, hey, and I told my local my minister, I said, brother, I can't deal with this. I said, if it was up to me, I'd just take them down to the river and line them up and shoot them. I say, I can't play this stuff with them all the time, and that's the thing. And even Brother Jabril, one time I was so distraught. I was talking to Brother Jabril, I can't take this. I said, I said, I'm going to leave the nation for a while. He said, brother, leave the nation? Why? I said, man, I can't deal with this, brother. I said, it's a lot of the BS going on all the time. Everybody knows that. I said, and people just take it for granted. He said, okay, you want to leave? That's fine. You can do that. That's what you choose to do. He said, but I asked you a few questions. I said, yes, sir. He said, what did Master Farad Muhammad do to you to make you so upset?
mm, mm, mm,
And I
mm,
looked, I said, brother, you know Master Farad Muhammad don't do nothing but good. He said, okay, how about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? What did he do to have you so angry? You're talking about walking away from the work. I said, Brother Jabril, come on, you know Master Farad Muhammad. I mean, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he's only doing good, brother. This is the Christ, the messenger. He said, okay, well, what did Minister Farrakhan do to upset you so bad?
mm,
I just looked. He said, brother, who did you come to follow? That was it. Who did you come to follow? He said, man, don't worry about them. He said, other laborers, they'll come and they go, but you didn't come to follow them. You came to follow Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and Master Farad. He said, don't worry about them. He said, all the ones out there that's not doing what they should be doing, Allah will deal with them. He got something in store. One time, Brother Jabril was telling me a story about this one person who had did some things, and Brother Jabril went to the messenger on the person, and Brother Jabril wasn't able to prove what the person did, but and so the messenger questioned the person and questioned the person, and he let the person go, got off the hook. And so Brother Jabril said, the man did it. The messenger said, okay, brother, even if he did do it, even if he did do it, you can't prove it.
mm,
Then he said, brother, he may have gotten past you, and he may get past me. He said, but I guarantee you he's not going to get past Master Farad Muhammad. He said, don't worry about him. He said, don't worry about that. Brother Jabril would tell me how the messenger used to charge his laborers with things just to see how they were going to react. He had charged Brother Jabril with cutting his tires one day.
mm, mm,
He
mm,
said the messenger, he had the captain charge Brother Jabril, bring up charges on Brother Jabril with cutting his tires.
mm,
Brother Jabril said, man, the more I deny it, man, the harder the captain would be on me. Be on me, be on me. Brother Jabril said, I finally got to the point, said, okay, dear Holy Apostle, if you say I did it, I did it. That's it. He said, if you say I did it, that's it. I did it. And he had Brother Jabril charged, this was a different captain. He had Brother Jabril charge this captain with some things one day that were untrue. And I mean, Brother Jabril said it almost brought the captain to tears. He said, and the more the captain would deny it, Jabril said, I just grind him and grind him and grind him, because that's what the messenger said, dude. He said, just grind him. He said, he said, now if the man turns on you, you can't use that man.
mm,
And he said, that's how the messenger used to teach. He said, even one sister came to the messenger one day and had told the messenger some things about Brother Jabril. And so the messenger told Brother Jabril, brother, I need to see you. Brother Jabril said he was kind of nervous. He went in, said, brother, sit down, we need to talk. He said, I got a bunch of bad reports on you. Brother Jabril said, bad reports? Because Jabril was saying, he said, I knew I wasn't doing nothing crazy. I hadn't done anything crazy. And so he said, yeah, brother. He said, the sister, she was an official in the mosque too. He said, I got some bad reports. He said, I get complaints that you teach too much scripture.
mm,
Brother Jabril
mm,
said, as soon as he heard that, like, what? It's too much scripture. He said, brother, my blood pressure came all the way down and I relaxed because I already knew. He said, then Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, brother, you just keep teaching the way you're teaching,
mm,
because this person's heart is just too wicked. And if you continue to teach, hopefully within 6 months, the person will become a convert. And Brother Jabril said he looked, and this person was an official in the mosque and had been into the mosque for years. And he said, that's the first time I realized being registered or being an official don't make you a convert.
mm,
He said, a big difference between being registered and being a convert.
mm, mm, mm,
And he said, it's all about being converted. That's what it's about. So we have to work on converts. You know, one of the things that I wanted to mention that in our early stages of development in the universe, everything started off small. Everything started, when I say small, everything started off as atoms. So Mercury was an atom, Mars was an atom, the sun started as an atom, all the planets started as atoms. And right now, is so many stars in the universe that if you added up all to give an ideal to people of how vast the universe is, all 76 quintillion miles until you hit the edge of darkness, to give an ideal of how vast it is so many stars in the universe that if you took the grains of sand of all the beaches on Earth, it still wouldn't equal the number of stars in the universe.
Mm.
I mean, imagine the grains of sand of every beach on the Earth, and you got way more stars than that out there than the grains, not the beaches, just the grains of sand
Yes, sir.
on
Yes,
all
sir.
the beaches. We used to travel in orbs. That's how we got around in our early years. We traveled throughout the universe, but everything was in little what the messenger used as orbs. And he said it took roughly 2 trillion years for that first God to make himself up.
Mm.
It took roughly 2 trillion years.
Christ.
And we are made of star material. Right now, us personally, the human body, we're made of star materials. That's why he said, if you want to put a star in the sky, we can put stars in the sky. What you do, you think and you focus, and within billions or trillions of years, your star will pop up in the sky. And so I'm like, of course, the star pops up in the sky because we're made of the same material. So everything reproduces after itself. So we can produce stars. Why? We're basically stars. We're
Well,
stars on that cosmic level. But when we find our purpose in life and we line our minds up with Master Farad Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, then we become the stars of heaven. So there was that song Sly Stone, Everybody is the Star.
yes, sir. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody's a star. Some stars you can see with the naked eye, and some stars you need telescopes. But the ones that you can't see with the naked eye, they're stars nevertheless. And
Mm.
that's how every one of us is. The messenger has set a course on the minister of purification to where the minister is removing that wobble in man. On page 81, our Savior has arrived. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about how that brown germ would be physically removed
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
from us. And I think about that all the time, like, okay, how will he remove that brown germ? And I'm studying that, and I think I'm onto something, but it's not totally clear. Uh, in my sickness, one of the things that I was doing, and when I was on that program, it was healing me fantastic. I mean, from the first day I tried it, I was able to feel an effect. It was called acoustic healing,
Mm.
using sound to heal.
Yes, sir.
And I'm thinking, I wonder, I'm not saying it's definite, but I wonder if Allah is used, well, he is using sound because every time the minister speaks, that heals us. Yeah, I mean, when you just think, yeah, that he is using sound. But I wonder if he'll use that sound to totally, will he use sound acoustically to totally remove the brown germ? Because what other surgical procedure, I can't see everybody coming in for surgery. And you had a guest on the other day, and he made a real good point where he talked about the word heart. He said in the word heart, you have the word ear, you
Yes,
have
sir.
the
Yes, sir.
word
Yes, sir.
here,
Yes, sir.
and you have the word earth. And I'm like, wow, yeah. So him that have ears, let him hear.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
in the beginning was the word. And so
That's
you're
right.
dealing with transmission of sound is something that even with the application of the words that are used, God's purpose is to make us like him, and we will be made governors all around the earth. Brother Jabril, I would ask him about Master Farad Muhammad on his return. I said, but a lot of people have access to talk with Master Farad Muhammad. He said, no, brother, just few. He said, those 10,000 that are gathered, they will have access to Master Farad Muhammad. More people would have access to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. More people would have access to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So we're taught that those 144 plus, because you have the 10,000 plus the 144, so you get the 154,000. And that's what's reflected in the problem, not the problem book, the Supreme Wisdom. You have 154 question and answers, and that deals with the 10, which is called the Big 10, the student enrollment. And then it deals with the other 144 questions in there. So he said, those 10,000, he'll be dealing with Master Fard Muhammad. He called them servants around the throne. That's the term Brother Jabril used.
Mm, mm,
He said also the 144,000 and the 10, there'll be governors
mm.
around the earth. Governors. And I said, wow, that's interesting. In your automobile, you have a governor, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Where's the governor located in the
Mm,
automobile?
mm.
It's
Teaching.
in the transmission.
Yes, sir.
And what the transmission do? It's responsible for putting the car in gear or
Mm, mm.
creating the movement or the motion of the car. And I'm like, wow, this is not a coincidence. So when a person is transmitting the
Mm,
word of Allah or God, and a person who takes that word in and thoroughly feeds and nourishes on that word and prayer and fasting and principles, it's designed to eventually make you a governor one day, and it puts your life and the lives of those in motion. Why? Because you're reflecting a high degree of light, because light is what causes motion. It makes things move.
yes,
Things
sir.
don't move in the dark. Things move in light because you need to be able to see where you're going. And so these are some of the things you'll be in governors. Also, with the minister's departure, at the crucifixion of Christ, you had 7 women, and you only had one man there. Most of the
Mm.
men had abandoned Jesus while Jesus was on the cross. Remember, Peter had denied him, and what happened to the other disciples? Remember, Jesus, 2 of the 12 disciples were his physical brothers.
Mm,
Two of the 12 were physical brothers of Jesus.
mm.
Even they had, James was one of them, and I can't think of the other one off the top of my head, but they all abandoned Jesus. The only one who stood with Jesus was John, and John represented the men who will stand with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. When everybody else abandons him, the women aren't fickle when it comes to supporting or backing a good man. The women will be there, but it's the men who have to get their act together, because Minister Farrakhan, he's leaving. One thing that I would recommend for everybody, not just those hearing this podcast, but everybody in the Nation of Islam and beyond, go to YouTube, type in Minister Farrakhan, 1979, Your Black Muslim Bakery.
Yes,
Have you
sir.
heard those?
Of course. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And that's it. Everybody needs to listen to that, brother, because one of the things, you grew up in the nation, so you have a different perspective and you have history behind you. And then what you do, brother, man, you breaking atoms every day, all across the world. That's true. But a lot of people who are in the nation now, it's hard to believe you have some people who they're registered Muslims. They never read Message to the Black Man.
Mm, mm,
It's
mm.
like, how are you going to be in the Nation of Islam and you don't read none of the books? No, you have to study the books. So imagine you're a college student and you never read none of the books, and you don't. Now I can see if the books, if you've studied that before, and you don't need to get the book, but they have no knowledge of what's going on in the nation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And some people never read Message to the Black Man. How you be in the nation and don't read Message to the Black Man?
Mm.
How do you be in the nation and don't read the messenger's books and try to get a thorough understanding of the messenger's books and try to get a thorough understanding of the reality of Master Farad Muhammad? We should be trying to get everything that we can on Master Farad Muhammad, everything we can on the messenger, and everything we can on the minister, particularly if we're in the ministry. If you're in the ministry, the more you know, the more you can enlighten the circle that you're in. And it helps to put people on the same page, and it helps people to understand what the mosque is about. The mosque is not a church. The mosque is not a group. We're actually a nation. Not only are we a nation, Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about it was 13 tribes and one was lost
Mm.
during that deportation of the moon. One of the tribes were lost.
Mm.
Do you know the messenger said, when all is said and done, that 13th tribe would be reconstituted? Do you know who's going to constitute that 13th tribe? We are the Black people of America. Brother, we are going to constitute that 13th tribe. That's one of the reasons why Master Farad Muhammad referred to us as what? The lost found.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Teacher.
We will constitute that 13th tribe that was lost. The
Yes, sir.
minister did a series of lectures for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. First, anytime the Honorable Elijah Muhammad put the minister on the air, the minister sent him the tape first.
Mm.
So every lecture that was played was already pre-approved by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He had the minister do one subject. On this man, I have laid the
That's
key.
right.
Went on for 6 years. For 6 years. Minister Farrakhan did over 350 radio broadcasts for the messenger. And each one, the messenger knew who the minister was all the time. And he let the minister teach in such a way that the minister would gradually grow into the understanding of who he was. In the book of Jude, you have that 10,000 that's mentioned. The minister, he will lead those 10,000. Those 10,000 will be gathered in his absence and more when he returns. Brother
Mm.
Jabril talked about those 10,000. We talk about that a lot. Those 10,000, they would represent the beginning or the inception of the new universe, new world that's coming in. It already started. If you look at the ending of the present Holy Quran, that was 2014.
Mm.
And the reason why I say it's 2014 is certain math behind it. One of the things, Master Farad Muhammad met the messenger September 22nd, 1931, which is the night of majesty. What would make thee understand what the night of majesty is? It's better than 1,000 months. So you have 83.33 years. If you add 1931 and add 83.33, you get the year 2014.33. So if you take 2014 and then you just leave the, you take the 33.33 off to the side, then you go to the year which we were brought here on the slave ship Jesus of Lubeck. That was the year 1555. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said at the inception of the universe, it was very cold. Okay, how cold was it? It was what in thermodynamics, the physicists, they call absolute zero. Absolute zero is negative 459.67. So if you take 1555 and add 459.67, you're going to get the year 2014 again. But it's going to be 0.67 that's off to the side. So, okay, 2014. Then you get Black Lives Matter in the year 2014. That was the inception of Black Lives Matter. Then you take the number, which is the signature number of God, which is 19.
Yes,
so you
sir.
take the year 1900 and you add the chapters of the Holy Quran to 1900 and you get what? 2014 again. So this 2014 becomes repetitive to show us that this Holy Quran is going out. That's why it said, eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor has it entered into the hearts of man what lies beyond.
Yes, sir.
The scientists, when they were looking down into time, they saw 15,000 years of a 25,000 year cycle. Allah did not let them see what? He did not let them see the 10,000 coming. So they didn't see the last 10,000 years. The 10,000 years is also representative of the 10,000 saints that's spoken of in the book of Jude and representative of the 10,000 when Muhammad went to conquer Mecca.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That will conquer Mecca is Minister Farrakhan. He's conquering Mecca right now. He's conquering Mecca. And he is that Muhammad. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is that Muhammad. And Master Farad Muhammad is that Muhammad. In the sayings, the hadith, it says that the Mahdi would come out of the family of Prophet Muhammad. So he is through the lineage of Prophet Muhammad's daughter, Fatima, and her husband, Ali. Those are descendants. Well, Master Farad Muhammad, if it's a lineage fault, he's one of their descendants. He's one of their descendants. And Master Farad Muhammad, his mother was born in a family to where her father was a great scientist. Her father was a great scientist. Matter of fact, let me. I thought I had my Bible with me. Oh, I got it right here to show something about Master Farad Muhammad's mother. Just to read something real fast. It says, Revelations 12, it talks about a woman who gives birth. A great portent appeared in the heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. She was pregnant and was crying out in birth pains in the agony of giving birth. Then another portent appeared in heaven, a great red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 diamonds on his head. His tail swept down a third of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. Then the dragon stood before the woman who was about to bear a child, so that he might devour her child as soon as it was born. And she gave birth to a son, a male child who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. But her child was snatched away and taken to God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared by God, so she can be nourished for 1,260 days. Okay, Brother Jabril had told me, dealing with that passage, a woman in heaven, he said they call a wonder in heaven. Why? He said the scientists in the circle, they were wondering, what's going on with this white woman who's coming into the circle? This has never happened before. Why? He said they were wondering what was going on because Master Farad Muhammad's father knew that he was too black. He couldn't come. So, in order for the scriptures to be fulfilled, said he had to come as a thief in the night. Also in the scripture it says he came in sinful flesh to condemn sin in the flesh.
Yes, sir.
Then in some of the older bodies, it said, prepare a body for, older Bibles, not body. It says, prepare a body for me so I can go down. In the book of Ezekiel, the first chapter, it talks about the coming of Master Farad Muhammad. You know, it talks about the 4th month, the 5th day, the 30th year, because we know January is not the first month. Also, in the 74th surah of the Holy Quran, it talks about Master Farad Muhammad, the 74th surah, the 30th verse. It talks about over it are 19. 19, hold it. 19, and what verse is it? It's the 30th verse. What year did Master Farad Muhammad come? 1930. It's right there in the Holy Quran, the Surah 74, verse number 30. It talks about it. You know, so these are things to let us know that one would be born. The purpose of the universe was to create a perfect one. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Man, thank you, Brother James. You've been teaching, and people will bear witness all around the world. Brother James, we got to ask you, is it possible, now this is like part 4, for you to come back for part 5?
Brother Joshua, I come back for any part, but I love sharing the information, and to whom much is given, much is required. I have an obligation and a duty to share the information that I have. And I know, and it's not from arrogance or anything, that's not my mindset at all. I know Allah has blessed me to see the teachings a different way than most people. And so whatever I see, I want to share with the believers because I know all it does, it empowers the individual believer to make that believer get a better understanding, because most of us are not really aware that if we study this intently, we become gods. We become gods. We get to be like Master Farad Muhammad and the minister and the messenger. We're not supposed to be cheerleaders on the sideline. Rah, rah, Farrakhan, rah, rah, man. Farrakhan. No, no, no. We got to get on the field. Hey, put on your uniform. Get out in the field. You know, you go score a touchdown. You go catch a pass. Now, that's for all of us. And it's really easy, brother. It's real. The messenger has made things so clear, and through the minister, that a fool could understand this. You know, a fool could understand. But yeah, brother, I'd love to come back. You know, and next time, you know, one of the things, God willing, I want to talk about how the Honorable Elijah Muhammad represents the well of Zamzam. Remember, no matter how much you drink from that water, you never get weighted down. It's
Yes, sir.
always light and it's always refreshing. That's the same way with the teachings. It's always refreshing.
Beautiful, Brother James. Beautiful. And Brother
Yes,
James,
sir.
people are showing you love all around the world. Tajuddin Shabazz says, God veners. Brother Daniel E. Muhammad, Assalamu alaikum, family. Salam. Brother Daniel E. Brother Hoyle
Daniel
Riley
Phoenix.
says, ASA. So just keep up the good work. Thank you, Brother Hoyle. Thank you, Brother Tajuddin again. And thank you to everyone who is watching all around the world. Brother James, where can people reach? Once again, for those who may have come on late, earlier you gave your phone number. If you have any questions or texts, please put those in the comments. Please reach out to our brother. And inshallah, we'll be back for part 5 on the People's Podcast. It's an honor to speak with you every time, Brother James. And
Brother Joshua, brother, the honor is mine. One thing, every time I talk to a God, brother, I'm bound because I, I am so appreciative to be able to talk to a fellow God, but that's how it should be among the circle of gods. Anytime we meet a fellow God, because we're gonna learn something, we learn from each other.
yes,
It's
sir.
just the information that I have is a little different from the information you have. It's a little different from the brother, just like your previous guest, Brother Rakar.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
brother, I gotta go back and watch that whole thing. I was lit like, oh my God, brother. That man had me on fire. I had to go get me some cold water.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And thank you, everyone who's watching. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off of the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, Brother James.
Welcome, salam, brother Joshua. Always an honor and pleasure, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Thank